Well, I'm making another 3-hour video that nobody watches. It's kind of funny though. I really want to start my videos off with saying the most controversial thing ever that's still going to be true, just to make sure I scare away and weed out, whatever the word is, weeding out, I don't know. But just to make sure I scare away all the people that really don't need to be here. But in the end, I really just make these videos for myself and people I know, and in the same situations who have been, so still whatever, kind of. Anyhow, so I've been thinking a lot lately about what people label off as anxiety. In fact, I'm just now having, I guess I could say flashbacks, but I don't know, memories of my medical gaslighting. Not even from med professionals, but from relatives. And like them trying to make me feel like, in fact, no. I was about to screw the story up. Okay, so pretty much, this was before I knew I was having hypoglycemia and even hyperglycemia. Although I kind of did know that I had high blood sugars at one point due to the iatrogenic metabolic syndrome, but this was after I didn't have the metabolic syndrome anymore and I wasn't being forced on the drugs that were causing my health issues or really screwed my health up. And so, anywho, I still did have I still do have leftover blood sugar issues and stuff, but I think it's more about the leftover dysautonomia, but then also just dysautonomia from malnutrition and intestinal issues at this point. I feel like that's the main cause. And so anyways, what I did know is that I was having extremely low blood sugars. By the time I started checking my blood sugar in November 2024, I found out that my blood sugar was at 50 every day. And I checked it whenever I was able to, off and on, from November 2024 all the way to even sometime in 2025, and it was always at 50. And so, anywho, my older neighbor sister was also trying to tell me that my pelvic floor pain, and then side symptoms that were actually from my digestive issues, which also caused the pelvic floor pain, and the low blood sugar. She told me it was just anxiety to try to gaslight me about it. So the point that I'm getting at is that I wonder how many people are running around saying that they have anxiety and social issues, but lo and behold, they're probably like me, and they just have like neurological issues just due to the fact that, one, they have dysautonomia, where like they have blood pooling. So if you sit down too long, not enough blood is flowing to your brain, or if you eat something, not enough blood is flowing to your brain because all the blood starts to go to your stomach. Not to mention I was getting told I was anemic my whole life, as well as a couple other things. So that definitely adds to that when you already have circulation issues prior to the dysautonomia, actually, for me. And then even with like the iatrogenic injury, like that causes brain damage and metabolic issues, and etc., like the intestinal issues that it caused, which just puts your body in an all-around starvation mode, and especially your brain, which is what causes quote-unquote ADHD when you actually have symptoms, because typically the ADHD label is just used as a racial and a sexist label, which is why I always call it the bad boy or the bad black boy ADHD label. And then also dementia, which is another form of diabetes of the brain, so pretty much your brain is starving. And I even believe that certain types of schizo are just like dementia. They come from brain starvation. But still, there's usually going to be trauma involved in the typical DID type stuff anyways. But I've been thinking about that a lot because it's like, it's hard to function when your whole body's in a constant starvation mode, especially your brain. And like I kind of already said, there's one thing is a liver, I can't remember exactly what it's called. It's called like glucogenesis or something close to that. And that goes in how like your liver is supposed to be able to store like glucose, But if it's not able to do that, because you've been in a starvation mode so long and now it's just too depleted to even try to store anything, you're going to constantly be having blood sugar crashes, and your body's going to constantly be starving, and your brain's going to barely work because it can't get enough glucose. And that's still a side thing from the circulation issues from dysautonomia and malnutrition, to where your brain isn't getting enough blood either. And it's like, the more I piece together, the more it actually makes sense why I've had the dizziness. Like, I remember well before I ran away, like, there was a point in time where I couldn't even balance on one foot. I was so malnourished and I just was falling apart so bad. Like, I couldn't stand on one foot for 2 seconds to try to put on a shoe or any of that. There's a lot of things that I couldn't do. Some things I still can't do. More so due to like I think the term is muscle atrophy, but even deeper than that, just losing muscle and fat along with the adipose tissue when I lost the iatrogenic metabolic syndrome weight / type 2 diabetes from the, well, yeah, I guess it's just called metabolic syndrome. I was going to say the hyperprolactinemia, but that wasn't a part of that. But I'm trying to think about what else. Oh, yeah, the hyperprolactinemia that was iatrogenic didn't help because that made me lose more blood. But I've been piecing things together. And so, another thing to get to the point, I know in my video titled Intravenous Vitamin Therapy Conclusion or something like that, I talk about how back when the doctors kept saying that they felt like I was just being starved at home in GA, but they wouldn't do anything because they didn't care, I felt like, okay, if that's the case, well, for one, it didn't make sense because my siblings are being starved as much as I was being starved, and they've been able to hold on to all their weight, especially my brother. And it's like, I mean, crap, I dropped down to 80 pounds after losing the metabolic syndrome weight before I even started going through starvation abuse at 14 anyway, so it just didn't add up. But what I was thinking is like, okay, well, if that's really true and it's like a calorie issue, then doesn't that mean that I just need to like be put on like some type of feeding tube or something to help me like get my health back together? And so then there was a whole rabbit hole I was sent on like a month or two ago, and I was made to feel like, okay, maybe I could like get this from like a ED clinic type thing, even though I don't have an ED, which causes its own risk because it's like, okay, if I get sent to, or if I send myself to like a residential like ED place just to get like a feeding tube, or really what I needed and wanted was intravenous, not through the stomach, because my intestines are just so screwed up I can't absorb stuff how I'm supposed to anyways. That's why even though I've been taking the HCl and the enzymes since August 2024, I mean, they've helped with a lot of issues. They stopped a lot of stuff, but it's like, I still need to take them and I shouldn't still need them. I mean, obviously, if you're healthy, you wouldn't need them in the first place, but I shouldn't still need them, and I also still haven't managed to gain any weight at all. So it's like, yeah, they're helping me break down stuff enough for like eating and not cause crazy pain like it used to, and for me to not be like crapping strawberries and stuff and throwing stuff up and having diarrhea and all that, and even constipation. But there's still a lot of underlying issues that are intestinal, and especially with absorption, because it's like, obviously I'm still not absorbing all the minerals that I need for like things to start working again. And so that's why I was thinking I would need intravenous like feeding tube if anything. Although that is pretty risky and it's easy for that to get infected. But like I said in the intravenous vitamin therapy, whatever in the world video, all the ED clinics say that they don't cater to medical issues. And it makes sense because the mental health system doesn't do any actual treating or catering to people's issues. And it's like, well, I mean, then what are you guys in there doing? Because the thing is, when you hear ED clinic, I mean, really it's a bunch of SA people being sent off to these places to be tied to a bed and abused and have somebody watch them eat stuff that's probably disgusting. But it's like, how do you not cater to medical stuff when you're supposed to be around people that are like extremely sick, who've supposedly been starving themselves for probably years on end their whole life, their whole life just about. That causes serious medical issues, so it doesn't make sense that you don't cater to medical stuff unless nobody in there really has an ED. But anyhow, that's just crazy because like there's risk of refeeding syndrome and things like that if somebody's actually really been starving themselves. So that's why that just didn't make sense. But anywho, so another thing to get to the point, I started researching again. I don't even know what pushed me to start researching again. And I started finding out about IVT, regular IVT, intravenous vitamin therapy, not the ED clinic being forced, having a feeding tube forced down your throat or something. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I would assume that with the ED, like feeding tube type stuff, even with the intravenous feeding tubes, it's not just like caloric, it's gonna like have vitamins and nutrients and minerals as well, obviously. But I mean, honestly, I don't know. I feel like the caloric side could still be good for me, but you can't get that from like one of these like wellness, wholeness, whatever they're called, clinics that do IVT, or at least not as far as I know. But I do know that they also have intravenous hydration, like electrolytes, but that's extra money, and that's kind of whatever, I guess. And so that's kind of what led to me coming to this new conclusion, or going back to my original conclusion from, I guess, mostly 14 again, I guess I could say. But that's one of the things that's been happening with what I guess I could call my health journey. It's just like, since running away and getting away from all the gaslighting, one, as I've said before a lot of times, which was really important and is a really good thing, I was able to actually accept the fact that I'm actually chronically ill, so I can stop playing all these games about serious health issues and acting like it's just all fine and dandy. And I'm supposed to be walking around throwing up and having diarrhea at all the wrong times and places and all that stuff. And those symptoms were the bare minimum of what I used to have before running away, and even in the early days of me getting out here. But like I said in some other video, I don't know which one, I really want to figure things out and at least start getting myself in a recovery, healing phase before crap hits the fan. I know a lot of stuff is about to go down in the next couple months, especially by hold up, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, especially by October, but probably even before, I'm sure. Like, so much is about to start going down. There's honestly a lot of things that I want to get together, but it's like I keep making these deadlines and then things go however. But I know I can't blame myself because, one, not being able to do stuff and then needing like a stable enough position like I'm in now to where like at least I know I have somewhere to put my stuff and all that. I figured out how to finally get a GI referral through a paywall, but it's like, it's so funny because I wanted one so bad, but it's like I still don't know how to like really get an endoscopy. Maybe they'll do that, especially because of like how I got the referral. But as far as like the colonoscopy, I'm still like nowhere near old enough for that. But then it's also kind of like, now that I've circled back around doing IVT, it almost feels kind of irrelevant. It just seems like another, or not another, because I just started going to the doctor again through the paywall naturopath loophole anyways. But anywho, it just seems like something else that's stretched out and I have to wait weeks and stuff and to the next months and things like that for appointments that I should have got years ago for issues that I've been having for my whole life, and especially since the iatrogenic injury, which is what mainly caused most of my issues. But like I did say in the intravenous whatever in the world video, um, I have found some like just like some basic PCP checkup records from 7. And I mean, it was saying that I had low body temperature and I was having low and high blood pressures at 7. And that's well before a lot of things started happening. I mean, it's definitely well before the iatrogenic injury, the cash for kids system abuse, the slash the Munchausen syndrome by proxy. So that was probably just like maybe mold and probably still malnutrition related. Because, like I said before, I feel like I've eaten more since running away and being homeless than I did my whole life living with relatives. And I'm not even talking about the starvation abuse. Like, I just feel like generally, I just have, like, when I'm in places where, like, there's soup kitchens and, like, I'm able to go to them and all, that's a long story kind of. But anywho, I just feel like I've had more access to food out here than I did when I was with relatives ever, really. And honestly, something that I've noticed is that a lot of people who live indoors really don't have access to food. Like all their money goes towards bills and stuff. So like if they're not willing to go to a soup kitchen or whatever, even if they really, really need to and their kids really, really need it, due to pride and also some of them in some places wanting to like get all in your business and accuse you of not qualifying and stuff like that, really so the staff can eat all the food. Some people just don't go, but I just noticed like a lot of people who live indoors, they don't have food, they don't eat. They spend all their time going to school or working or both, kids and grown people. And so they don't really have time to eat. Like a lot of people don't even know how to cook. It's actually really unfortunate how the Matrix has really set people up to just have health issues. And it's like with the type of issues I have and how I have hypoglycemia, I have to eat like every so often to try to not drop down to 50. And I know it'll still happen anyways eventually, especially due to like being in the heat and the cold, which is a hypoglycemia trigger for the dysautonomia for some reason. Well, actually, no, for the cold, one of the things with that is because your body has to use a lot of energy to actually keep you warm by shivering and stuff. And then when you're hot, your body uses a lot of energy to like keep you from not passing out. But especially when you're cold, I know that for a fact. So that's why if you have dysautonomia, you're gonna have hypoglycemia worse in like the cold. But for me, it's the heat and the cold. And one of the funny things about it is like I know I talked about how I related to the Diary of an Olympic Kid book and how like even this girl who made that video that I had made a post about like a year ago, I guess. She had pointed out how Greg is always talking about he can't really take the sunlight, he can't really take the heat. And it's funny because like now since my health has gotten really bad and I have like really bad dysautonomia and like I have the falling asleep due to blood sugar issues, but also what's apparently called I think it's called postprandial hypotension if I'm remembering right, and just like falling asleep after eating due to that, which is a blood circulation type thing, and then also the sugar stuff. The heat makes that worse, and like I could just like fall asleep anywhere if it's hot, but it's like I even remember when I was 10 and 7 and stuff like that because I always went outside pretty much all day since 4, but especially 6. And I remember even then, like I would talk about how sunlight makes me sleepy, and like I always felt like if I could go to sleep anywhere, it would be outside. Even before the sleep deprivation abuse started at 8. And this like now with the issues I have, it's actually kind of funny. But that's why I had said, and especially went over in my intravenous whatever in the world video, I especially went over how I have mentioned that even with the iatrogenic injury that caused a lot of issues, some things definitely aren't new. It definitely seems like it's worse than things that I've complained about having my whole life since I was since well before I was even double digits. And it's like after the iatrogenic injury and me dropping down to 80 pounds at 14, after losing the metabolic syndrome weight and being 117 plus pounds, it seems like once that happened and once my digestion ability went to hell, like a lot of things that I've just always had that I was made to think nothing of got worse. And so it's interesting, like even with alkaline phosphatase being low since what was it? Before 12, I think. I know 12, but like, because I have like my alkaline phosphatase table that I made of my different levels and how it dropped over time. But my alkaline phosphatase being low, even at 12, and it dropping down slowly over time, starting before 12. And I think that also shows like how much liver and even kidney stress the neurotoxin psychotropics actually put on me, which is actually one of the biggest reasons why I got the issues, other than like my digestion being messed up. And when digestion gets messed up and your stomach isn't like breaking down stuff and your stomach acid isn't breaking down stuff and like killing off like bad pathogens and stuff like that, your kidney and liver have to go into overdrive. And so they were going into overdrive to try to kill off pathogens that my stomach acid and stuff in my migraine and motor complex wasn't killing off, and also to try to kill off the drugs as well, those toxins as well. So there was it. But then it also still goes back to the whole thing of me feeling like I probably have poor detox genes, and I'm probably a poor methylator. And if I'm not, then just like I guess like just too much malnutrition and too much sleep deprivation abuse throughout my life just screwed up my ability for my body to just do basic things, which makes sense. Because I remember even before I started making the abuse videos or the abuse evidence channels, I would always talk about how it's really only a matter of time before like the effects of the abuse really start to like screw up my health. And that's definitely what happened. But I've always said people do not talk enough about how starvation abuse and even things like not being allowed to go outside affects you. That really sets you up to be extremely unhealthy and to be people always talk about being overweight due to the American anti-fat agenda, but it sets you up to also be really underweight and really sick and really deficient in all types of things and to not be able to do basic tasks. So my goal is to like really start trying to scrape up money to fix this and not be holding on to life from like a thin string. And also I do think that me selling art back when I was in Cali in 2023 and 2024 and 2025 and stuff, and figuring out that loophole to order my own labs through Quest. I don't even remember how I found that out, to be honest. But I'm glad I did because I feel like coming with some of my own labs also helped the naturopath thing. Like, I feel like if I would have had nothing, then it could have been easier for me to keep getting gaslit. But I mean, the thing is that I already have to pretend that I live with like relatives, which I think I already screwed that up because I think I told the naturopath that I live with friends on accident. I meant to say that I live with my grandma, but that's what I'm gonna tell like the whoever I get referred to. I'm gonna keep that story going because it's like I'm already paying myself, which is just like things just already look bad. She already feels like everything's about like trauma messing up my migraine and motor complex. And it's like honestly, if anything messed up my migraine and motor complex, it's the anticholinergic side effects and the malnutrition and whatever else with the abuse screwing up my ability to produce stomach acid. Because at the end of the day, if you're not producing stomach acid, that alone will just cause like gastroparesis issues because your body just doesn't know what to do with the food because nothing's being broken down at the start where it's supposed to. And so things have to sit there because your body's going to try to not like push like a whole, I don't know, turkey wing out to your butthole or whatever. I mean, after a while, it still can end up happening. Like people, they talk about how Elvis had a whole bunch of undigested steak in his stomach or colon or something like that, but it's like they make it about how eating meat is bad, but I would really say he probably had poor digestion. I mean, he might have been eating too much steak to be honest, but he probably also had poor digestion in general. Because, like, I mean, the fact that the steak was all just sitting there still, I feel like generally that means that there's probably just some gastroparesis and stuff, and probably low stomach acid, and probably even bile flow issues, because that's what really breaks down fat, anyways. In fact, digestion is more about the pancreas and the gallbladder, which is a part of the liver, pretty much. It's more about that and the bile flow than even really the stomach acid, but still, everything is supposed to hit stomach acid in the beginning, and if it doesn't, things are just stuck and a lot of bullcrap happens, which is one of the reasons why a lot of people get like Crohn's and stuff anyways, because they have too much undigested food scraping through their intestines and sitting in their intestines rotting and causing all types of bacterial overgrowth, parasites, fungal overgrowth, which you're typically going to get that from your house anyways, and etc. And even H. pylori, I mean, those things, just those pathogens overgrowing over time can cause stomach cancer and all types of stuff. And that's not even talked about. And it's only really recognized with H. pylori and how like that can lead to gastric cancer and from especially from having like too many ulcers that go untreated over time. Which even makes me think back to when somebody said, I'm surprised you were never referred to a GI way back when you initially dropped in weight before the digestive symptoms even kicked in. And that's the thing. But now, after figuring things out with a paywall, now all of a sudden I can go. And it's like, well, crap, I don't even really want to go anymore at this point. It's like I did, but it's like now that it's happened, it's kind of like, eh. And then I still have to figure some stuff out. Because it's like, if I could get somebody to pretend to either be my dad or at least a grandma, then like things could work out. Because for one, if I did get any procedure, they're going to need to know, somebody's going to have to bring me, somebody's going to have to at least pretend to pick me up or to take me quote unquote home. That's going to have to happen. I mean, crap. And then I made that post sharing the whole Nova situation, and it's like, stuff like that is really scary. And it's like, a lot of people already have experiences like that, even without being homeless. And it's like, when people know that you're just like an abandoned kid that nobody gives a crap about, it just makes things worse, actually. Especially in a situation like that, because for one, they're not even gonna want to listen to you because they just see you as like a kid who's just like saying whatever. And then if you're female, then it gets worse, regardless of what you look like, to be honest. And it's just like, yeah. Because like I said before, and I really wanted to make a video about, having somebody to at least pretend to be a step parent or something can help in a lot of situations. I still remember that whole thing where just like, crap, just that lady pretending to be my foster sister got me out of a dangerous situation with law enforcement that didn't need to happen anyways. And then another thing that makes me think about is that somebody called the police and said that I was dead at the bus stop a couple weeks ago, and then the police showed up, and it's like, I mean, the ambulance came, but it's like I would have been dead if like I was actually not breathing in the first place. And then if somebody calls the ambulance or whatever in the world and says I'm dead at the bus stop not breathing, why do the police show up? It's like, that's just like, what in the world? Miss. Anyhow, I'm trying to think about what else I need to say with that. But yeah, and it's like, oh yeah, I forgot. Okay, so going back to the whole the Nova shared posting with the whole thing of her getting sepsis due to pretty much medical malpractice and the typical medical gaslighting and medical abuse stuff. And it's like, I don't trust any of those people. I can't think of any situation I've ever been in since my first PCP where doctors weren't trying to kill me. Or trying to let me die, more so. But then eventually, yeah, they were trying to kill me too. So it's like, I just couldn't trust it. And it's like, then her talking about like the hospital wanting to send her to a nursing home for further treatment. So like, her antibiotics could be put in the fridge and stuff like that, and then the nursing home's not wanting to take her because one, she's too young, and then two, because she's homeless. But that's also bullcrap, because I've seen situations of foster kids being put in nursing homes if they have like a lot of health issues, and CPS will sometimes do that to be a little nicer than just like making them stay in the woods somewhere as they typically do. Or if they get a little bit nicer, they'll put you in a hotel. But yeah, so it's like all of that is really risky. And then once people know that you have abusive parents and family, or they're just not around because you had to escape them, or you got dumped out, it's just like an easy sign that they can do whatever they want to you, which includes doing nothing at all and letting your health conditions get worse and worse. And even before running away my previous situation, as I would always say, and I still have a lot of videos about this on the abuse evidence channels, I had to beg to go to the doctor, and then when I finally would go, they wouldn't do anything anyways, which, going through my medical records, as I already knew and as people were always telling me, especially near the end of the situation, it seems like every time the doctors were thinking about ordering like some vitamin panels and stuff that was still bullcrap and didn't really get to any of the issues and still wasn't any of the tests that I really needed. But anytime they were thinking of doing some bare minimum breadcrumb and bullcrap, blood work or whatever, my mom would just say some stupid stuff or just like not, she would just do things that would make them not care more when they already didn't care. And that even goes back to why I was able to have that tonsil infection for all those years, because my dad had said, he told them it was whatever, and the doctors already didn't care and didn't want to do anything just due to the typical stuff and the racial stuff. And then he told them that it didn't matter. So then they were like, well, we already didn't want to do anything anyway. So yeah, well, bye. And that goes in the thing that I would talk about a lot. And that's why I was still able to have that tonsil infection those couple years later. And then there was even the whole thing when I got put in that iatrogenic serotonin syndrome coma for 3 days plus, and then I got a UTI because I couldn't get up to use the bathroom while I was in the coma, which I don't know how those usually work for like a regular coma. The person typically pees on themselves, but that's not what happened with me with the serotonin syndrome coma. And I know even with the anticholinergics, those can even make you not be able to pee either. And so anyway, I got that UTI. And then I wasn't allowed to go to the doctor. And then it got really bad. And then that's when I snuck and called the doctor, which is what led to, that's part of what led to the February 2021 CPS case. But mainly what really led to that was when one of my dad's girlfriends had called about him not letting me eat and the starvation abuse before it got bad, I guess. And there was that whole situation. And so with that, my dad was just like, he was already having some weird paranoia, delusional type stuff going on, where him and my grandma was accusing me of having sex with my dad for like a while during this point in time, which is kind of a side thing. And then my dad and grandma were accusing me, or more so my dad, was accusing me of like having sex with our 80-year-old neighbor up the street who, they said he had dementia, but I think he had something else, to be honest. But he would like pee outside with his dog, so there was some weird stuff. My dad posted some pictures of him on Facebook doing that. But my dad and grandma were always saying that the dude was a retired FBI or CIA agent. I believe that they were just paranoid, because I don't think that was true. And I feel like especially if he was a retired FBI or CIA agent, he would live in a better area or a better neighborhood, I think anyways. Like maybe military, but definitely not CIA. FBI, probably not that either. And I think that the only reason my dad was having those types of like delusions, I guess I could call them, is because of the fact that he was sex trafficked by lawyers and judges. And so he was like, due to trauma, he was like projecting that onto me. And so he wouldn't let me go to the doctor when I got the UTI because he said that I just thought that I was pregnant. It was weird, actually. He was saying that I was having delusions that I was pregnant, but then I was having sex with the neighbor, so I don't even know what in the world, but some weird stuff. And so that's why, like, I definitely know that part of the reason that my health was able to get the way it was, aside from the iatrogenics, is because too many things were just allowed to pile on top of each other. And some of them are things that aren't even recognized or treated in the mainstream medical system anyways. And, crap. Since running away, especially when I was in Cali, I often notice that people who are on like drugs and stuff, when they get off of them, or like when they would go to jail for, well, crap, none of those white people are being sent to jail in Cali. But at least where I'm at now, I notice that when people go to jail and they come out, they've gained like 80 pounds and stuff. And it's like, crap, people who are on drugs are healthier than I am. And it's like, I've literally, okay, wait a minute. I'm trying to think of like the exact timeline. Or yeah, pretty much my weight's been going from 80 to 94 since even before the cash for kids system abuse and like all the metabolic stuff started happening. And then even going through medical records, I was underweight at 7. And it makes sense because my nephew, of course he went through the typical starvation abuse that we all were going through before I escaped. But like, even before that, he had a lot of stuff going on. Like with him driving his mom crazy and then all the stuff that happened with that and whatever all was going on in the house. Like, he had always been pretty, like, underweight and just underdeveloped. My nephew was like 11 and he was the same height as a 5-year-old and 4-year-olds and stuff. So, yeah, it's definitely just been like a lot of issues and health issues that people on my mom's side have gotten from, I guess I could call it generational starvation abuse and generational iatrogenic health issues from castrate system abuse / the Munchausen syndrome by proxy. And I'm trying to think about what else to say with that. But yes, like, I don't know. I feel like the sooner I could start IVT, the better I could get quicker. That's really what I'm focused on. Like I know people have been talking about for always pretty much, and especially since even a little before 2020, I remember people talk about how getting referrals to like endos and not endos. No, yeah, because endocrinologists. I was thinking about something else. Endocrinologists, dermatologists, whatever in the world, getting a referral to wherever can take months or years, and there's like long wait lists. But it's still like, it's kind of hard to keep up the like lies, especially if nobody's following through. Like, if nobody's following through or pretending to be my parent or grandma, then how in the world is this gonna work out? Because it's like, this one lady, she was saying that like she would help me out, and then she switched up last minute, and a whole bunch of bullcrap happened. I ended up getting stuck like in another county, I think, and it was just a lot of stuff with that. And it's like, but aside from that, like generally, there's just going to still be a lot of medical gaslighting, and I literally can't get some procedures if I don't have anyone to bring me and pick me up, and to then pretend that I'm being taken home somewhere to actually be able to recover and have whatever meds, or at least recover from whatever procedure. And if nobody will even follow through or pretending that they're like a relative and that they're taking me quote unquote home, then it's just kind of whatever. And I think that also one of the things with it is that, aside from people not wanting to be burdened, I think another thing is that somebody would also feel guilty and feel like guilt and shame for pretending to like help, especially like if I got a procedure. Like, they're not really, somebody's probably going to feel guilty if they like pick me up from like the procedure and claim that like they're my whatever and we're going home, and then they just drop me off like at my camp spot when I'm supposed to be not in the heat or cold. Well, it's hot right now, but so not in the heat, recovering. I feel like that would make somebody feel bad even doing that, and that's another reason that somebody wouldn't want to agree to that, which also screws stuff up. But it's like, I mean, I pay somebody for it, but some people also feel guilty even taking payment for something like that. But it's weird though, because it's like, I feel like it's kind of like the bare minimum, and people won't even do that. In fact, this one lady was telling me, you need somebody that'll be there for you, and like, it's like, I hate when people tell me like weird, obvious stuff. But it's like, I mean, crap. Even, well, I was gonna say even if my relatives weren't dangerous, they still really didn't have the ability to take care of me, which is true. But it's like, a lot of the things that happen did revolve around them not being safe. So, but yeah, I'm trying to think. Okay, I'm gonna be kind of chewing because I'm eating a sandwich, but I just remembered something else. When I went to the FNP, that I was referred to by the naturopath because I'm having memories of the whole bullcrap situation. She had ended up asking me who took me to the naturopath, and I was like, me, and it's like, and then I mentioned that I had been wanting to go to one, but I forget that, I mean, even my mom used to like curse me out for saying stuff like that because she felt like it made her look bad. And she would, but then also, well, another thing with it, at least when it comes to like saying I've had this issue for this long, and it's been years at this point because doctors keep not doing anything and stuff with my abusers and all that. It also like gives this idea. Okay, hold up, wait a minute. It also gives this idea that, well, it's not that serious because you say you've had it for all this time and you're still alive. But then there's also another side, and it's like, well, I don't want to believe that that's been happening this long because I feel like a doctor would have did something way back when things really started to, before things started to get bad. And then also it can like make you have a laundry list of things as things pile on top of each other or issues pile on top of each other over the years. And so it just seems like you're going to like a doctor with like a laundry list of all these different issues, which are typically really all related anyways. And so then they're like, well, no, I don't even want to have anything to do with that because it's just too much going on. Like, actually, the naturopath she wanted me to get okay, crap, the recording stopped, but it may recover itself, possibly. Possibly. So, she wanted me to get a GYN referral, but the FNP, which is a nurse practitioner, because the naturopath can't do referrals or order tests, she was like, honestly, that should be a side thing. I don't think I need to go to that anyways, really. I don't think that has anything to do with any of my pelvic floor issues. And I don't even have the hyperprolactinemia issues anymore because that was from the iatrogenics and the leftover issues that I do have from that, like still not having set periods. I feel like that's more about the leptin and hormone issues and stuff that's left over from the malnutrition. But then it was something else. Oh yeah, but it's like they're not gonna want to like do all these referrals at once because it's too much going on at once, which makes sense. So the GYN and the GI is just like a lot. And then like even with the back issues, even though that's technically serious, because I've had the back issues for forever since really before 12, but of course it wasn't till I think that was February 2024 when the chiro had actually told me it's a DDD and a couple other things that I can't remember. So anyhow, even though that's a serious issue because it causes nerve pinching and tingling and stuff, it's like that's not going to be their priority because they're just going to feel like it's too much stuff going on at once. So that's why, like, if you go in there saying I've had this, and that for that long, it just causes a lot of issues. And then for my mom, will make her feel like it's just making her look bad anyways because it just seems like she's been letting stuff pile up. But I mean, everybody's been letting stuff pile up, I guess. But then it's also like until very recently, due to me having to accept that there is no help, which is one of the things that helps with getting you to run away and escape your abuse situation in the first place, accepting that there is no help. I also had that same idea in the medical system, and it was just like, well, I mean, there is nothing for that, and they don't treat or cure anything anyways. But then I started to slowly accept that actually there are people who actually are out there treating and curing stuff. It's just all behind a paywall. And at the end of the day, it's always going to be like some issues with that. Because, like, one, there's a racial side, but then there's also the fact that, one, they're just going to see me as the abused, neglected, lonely, traumatized kid, anyways. And that's going to cause its own issues. And then, if they know about the homelessness, they can throw that on there, anyways. And they're already going to know that I'm most likely broke because of the racial stuff. So then there's that. And that's a lot of reasons for them to not do anything. Then also me being female, if I forgot that part. So that's all a lot of reasons for them to not do anything. And as I always say, people have a different excuse to treat you. People treat you the same in every situation, but with a different excuse. And I mean, like, for example, you can be told, okay, well, we can't give you medical treatment because your parent didn't agree and you're under 18, or we just feel like you're retarded. But then if you're not in like a Munchausen situation and nobody's running behind saying that all your symptoms are just because you're retarded and you think you're in pain or whatever, if you don't have that type of situation going on, they're going to have another excuse. If you're not under 18, they're going to have another excuse. If you're homeless, they can say, well, you're probably just stressed out because you're homeless. But if you're not homeless, they're going to have another excuse. If you're not, well, yeah, that's some examples pretty much. But that saying that I made can go for all types of situations, any situation. And then another thing. Oh, yeah, but I would always advise people to do your own research. In fact, one thing that I've learned throughout my life, and is very evident in the medical system, is that people do not like when you're in tune with yourself and how you feel and in tune with the reality of the world. People don't like when you're in tune with the reality of the world and when you're a realist, and people don't even like when you're in tune with your own body and with what your own body's telling you. Like, I remember throughout the whole the drug and abuse and the iatrogenic and just really the side effects I was having in general during that abuse, but especially with the iatrogenic anticholinergic side effects, I remember I kept saying, I'm not constipated. I literally feel like my intestines and bowels literally aren't working, and like they've actually been turned off. And of course, lo and behold, I find out at 12, anticholinergic turns out the neurotransmitters that make your bowels work, and really your intestines in general, and even your bladder as well, because like I already said, they can make you not be able to pee, which I have 2 videos, a part 1 and a part 2. Then I'll put the playlist in the description about the drug side effects, and I think those videos are also in my playlist about how to know if you have mitochondrial dysfunction, which I actually forgot that part, because that's the part of the whole thing with your body not being able to make and store enough energy to actually power itself. And then going into the dementia thing, like, and the iatrogenics, because iatrogenics, they cause brain damage, they cause metabolic issues, they kill brain cells, they shrink the brain, they block neural pathways that make your body work. And then the starvation stuff, I already mentioned the blood and the blood flow and the sugar stuff. But there's also like I know mucus can build up in the brain as well, but I know that and other stuff can like do something to like the brain synapses, like cut them or block them, something like that. And so like the connections aren't working. And so that's one of the reasons, aside from like the other brain damage and the the Parkinson's, and similar stuff that cause word finding issues, which I struggled a lot with. Even my relatives had that as well. And I believe that had a lot to do with, one, the stress of all the abuse and the constant chaos, 2, the starvation abuse, 3, most of them having iatrogenic brain damage and stuff. And then 4, the mold toxicity indoors, which most buildings have mold anyways. But depending on how bad your health is, it'll affect you worse. Especially if you have low stomach acid and digestive issues and stuff, and your immune function is down due to trauma, malnutrition, iatrogenic effects, whatever else. And so, I still have word finding issues, not as bad as I used to, but word finding, word recall. I remember especially at 14 when I developed the issue where I no longer could remember names or faces. Like, I used to never forget a name or a face, but now, like, I could see somebody every day and not remember what they look like, so I can't identify them somewhere else unless they look significantly different from everybody else, or unless they're like a limmer's obsession or something. And then with the name thing, that's whatever too. Like, I could probably mistake my parents for somebody else, but I know after I ran away, I forgot what they looked like. They became a repressed memory, even their voices, until I started watching the abuse evidence channels again and going back over those videos. And I'm trying to think about what else I could say with that. So, also vision issues. I might have mentioned this before. People think that they just need glasses, but honestly, they probably have dysautonomia, malnutrition issues, which Americans are the most overweight and malnourished nation anyways. People take out the underweight part and act like that isn't a thing as well, but... And then, I think I already said all of it. Blood sugar, malnutrition / dysautonomia issues. So yeah, that causes your vision to change throughout the day. Like, I used to be able to see in pitch darkness. Now sometimes I can't see at all for most of the day because my vision gets blurry. Sometimes it's good when I wake up, or sometimes it's bad when I wake up. But it clears up in sunlight sometimes, but that depends on if I've had a blood sugar spike, which can either screw my vision and make it blurry, or it can actually clear up my vision, which actually goes into the thing of full body long-term starvation and a body functioning on low. Because when your body's in functioning on low and can't store energy, when you have a blood sugar spike, it actually fixes a lot of things, because now it finally has enough energy to do basic tasks, and so now things actually work. Like, I notice especially if I have like a blood sugar spike and my blood sugar goes to like 217 plus, which isn't that often, but if it does, before I lay down, I don't have to pee all night, and my IC seems to like get a little bit better for a while, and also the frequent urination. But then I still have to use the bathroom really bad in the morning, but that happens in general these days for whatever reason. And then, yeah, I'm trying to think about what else, but it also can sometimes help with mood when my blood sugar isn't low and when it spikes, but that depends. It can make things worse or it can make things better. Okay, so lastly, my list of the main minerals that I know I need, which many of these can come in a Myers cocktail, which actually I forgot to say. Since 2023 with the health videos that I watched, I know I did eventually come across videos of people talking about intravenous, high dose vitamin D, but I don't really remember people actually talking about the fact that high dose vitamin D is given intravenously. I don't think there's I don't know if people do capsules of that. And I remember back in 2023 and maybe even into 2025, I tried doing I've tried a lot of things since really 12, to be honest, but especially since 2023. But I know I tried I think it's vitamin D3 and something K2, because people say it's risky to take a lot of vitamin D, or take vitamin D, especially long term, without K2, which I forgot if K2 is magnesium. I forgot what it was, to be honest, because something about it can force calcium into arteries and not into something, I don't even know. But with the level of mitochondrial dysfunction I definitely have, I don't think anything's being forced into where it's supposed to be forced at, which is why I'm having the issues that I'm having. But anywho, I didn't know that what I actually needed was for it to be delivered intravenously. I guess I missed that part. And I even think back to that video of that guy talking about how he got cured of SIBO, which he probably had H. pylori too. But he got cured of SIBO through a vitamin protocol that he did for 2 years, where he was just like forced to take like a lot of vitamins. And I guess that cured it because he probably really got sick because he was malnourished in the first place. And being malnourished probably weakened his immune system and his hydrochloric acid levels and stuff, which is what led to him being able to get bacterial overgrowths, possible H. pylori from low stomach acid, and even to like lower his migraine motor complex to where his small intestine couldn't clean itself out because he was probably too malnourished in the first place. And so that video is kind of just like another thing that makes me really think that this could work. Not because I necessarily feel like I even still have SIBO. I mean, I probably still do have SIBO and H. pylori and a lot of things, but I kind of doubt that I do. But I feel like at the end of the day, that's not what really caused everything. It was really things getting bad that made those things that were probably already there but dormant really start to like show off and have the football parties and stuff. Which before I took those dog parasite cleanses in 2024 or so, which wiped out all of my constant stomach pain, I did used to feel like there was like domestic violence disputes and football parties going on in my stomach where they were like beating each other up and stuff. That was like really bad. But anywho, needed vitamins. High dose vitamin C and D if I can get it. Some places don't want to do D because of the risk, and they want you to like be an established patient first for them to like run labs on you before they give you vitamin D, which I mean it makes sense. But that just sounds like extra money to me that I don't have. Vitamin C, especially for high dose. This one place said that they only do it for people who have a cancer diagnosis, and it's like, I'll be shocked if I ever get anything really formally put on paper. Like, I mean, even with the DDD, I almost said DID. I mean, shoot, that won't be put on paper either. But even with the DDD diagnosis and the other things that was diagnosed along with that I don't remember the names of all of them. Like, that's not even really formal enough because nobody cares about what a chiro has to say, which is funny because the quote-unquote real doctors, they don't want to do the MRIs and stuff like that for them to like see it for themselves. But that's not formal enough for them, but they don't want to do anything formal themselves. I don't know. Anywho, if I can get that, then zinc, which this is one of the things that's needed for stomach acid along with copper. But even the low alkaline phosphatase throughout what seems like half my life, to be honest, that or my whole life, I really meant to say, that is also a sign of low zinc levels. And if I'm remembering right, no, that was iron. I was about to say if I'm remembering right, low zinc is also what caused my fingernails to be white my whole life, but actually, I think that's iron, not zinc. Anywho, magnesium, and I think it was either magnesium or, no, it wasn't calcium. I think it was magnesium. That's one of the coenzyme type things almost that's needed for like most bodily functions, which I do remember well before running away. Around that time where I was trying D-mannose because I didn't know that I had interstitial cystitis and the pelvic floor pain was a side thing. I didn't know that yet. So I thought, okay, maybe I just have a UTI, and since the doctors wouldn't do anything and I couldn't go to the doctor, I didn't have a way of actually getting checked to be told, no, it's not a UTI, for me to realize I need to research more because it's something else then. So I found out about D-mannose through research, and I was trying D-mannose. And I guess I was 15, and I also started trying magnesium again, so I scraped up money to get that, and it did not help. And of course, oral supplements aren't going to work for really most people because they're not really in the right form. And then for people like me, since I have absorption issues, it's not going to work. I don't really think oral vitamins and stuff work for most people, to be honest. Then glutathione, which is needed from detoxing, and NAD. Forgot the exact reason for that, but it goes hand in hand with the glutathione, at least in my eyes. I forgot what NAD actually stands for. B complex, especially B1 thiamine, and if possible, calcium. And a couple of these are offered in the Myers cocktail. So I would just automatically get that. But the thing is, I think the Myers cocktail has vitamin C, but it's not high dose. But I know that getting high dose could probably be hard. Like this one place told me that they have high dose vitamin D, but I forgot to ask them, like, what do I need to actually qualify for that? Do I actually have to like come with, I don't know, like crap like the vitamin C? Do I need like a cancer diagnosis or something? I shouldn't if they say that they're just trying to be funny. But I feel like that's weird though, because it's like high dose vitamin C is honestly way safer than high dose vitamin D supposedly isn't, if that even came out right. So I don't really get why I need a cancer diagnosis for high dose vitamin C. But for vitamin D, some places will be like, well, yeah, it's whatever, even though the story from the mainstream medical system is that that's quote unquote dangerous. But vitamin C won't do anything to you, and vitamin C is water soluble, so bare minimum you'll just pee it out or have diarrhea. Vitamin D is fat soluble, which is also another reason why I need it intravenously, because since I can't break down fat or protein, that's another reason why I can't take in anything that's fat soluble, just like other the other fat soluble vitamins. Well, vitamin D is really a hormone, but the other fat soluble vitamins like AEK, I think it was something else, but those are the ones that I remember. And I forgot about this. I had actually been wanting to talk about this. So this is a list of everything that I can remember that I've tried. Honestly, since really 12, but especially since 2023 when I really got out the gaslighting. And I was in Cali and I had people telling me that I'm like really sick. And especially with the size and stature comments, which I kind of started getting those in the little 3 months of school I went to, but I haven't gotten any of those in like, not since I've been where I'm at now. So I haven't gotten any comments about how I look at really, other than from sexual predators and stuff, since I was in Cali. There's a lot I could say about that. So, tried 2023 Scram, which is a type of capsule parasite cleanse with cloves and a whole bunch of other stuff in it that I can't remember. There was a lot of stuff. I know wormwood. L-glutamine, that made my back pain so much worse, to be honest. I tried that literally twice and was like, nah. Mastigum, which I've actually recently tried again. I tried that and a couple other things again for like 3 months. No, it wasn't that long. 1 or 2 months. But I stopped a few weeks ago after I ran out of HCl and I just got tired. Honey and garlic. Milk, cinnamon, pepper, which somebody gave to me. They're the same person that told me to try the honey and garlic as well. Curcumin, turmeric, celery juice, papaya seeds, oregano, whatever it's called, charcoal capsule. That's before I started doing what I do now, which is whenever, if the pelvic floor pain gets bad enough, activated charcoal powder and water helps with that. That was the one thing that really helped with not only my pelvic floor dysfunction from the metabolic waste buildup from the digestive issues or the indigestion, but also even the interstitial cystitis. Paragard cleanse, which came with a binder that it said cinnamon and a whole bunch of other things I can't remember. Omega-3 fish oil capsules. 2022 papaya. This was for the iatrogenic anticholinergic side effects when I was getting gaslit about my bowels being turned off and how I almost died from that a lot, which I've been kind of reliving that going through medical records recently. So papaya, some grapefruit cocktail, AOZ. No, it wasn't. This is 2022, not 2018. I don't know what in the world. I didn't mean to say that. I tried papaya again in 2022, I guess, but I know I tried it in 2018 and stuff during the drugging, which gave me the anticholinergics. Anywho, D-Manos, 15 to 16. I already talked about that. Vitamin D3 plus K2. I know I did that in 2023, but I probably did do that before running away as well. 2020 plus salt water gargle for tonsil infection, iron. What does this say? Iron. Oh, oxybol, I think. I think that's what OB stands for. Which I tried oxybol and I started that in 2023. I think that's what that says. Fish oil, 2024 plus. NexGard and TriHeart, which worked. Those are prescription only though. I got lucky because since a lot of people in Cali had dogs, some people had donated dog parasite cleanses to the shelter, and there's just a box of them sitting on the ground. And I was like, I should take some of these. Honestly, I wish I would have took more. Like I had some of those left over because I didn't take them but like every couple months up until like sometime last year, and that's when I used my last one. Or maybe at the beginning of this year actually. Okay, hold on. Where was I? NexGard, HCl, which is a supplemental stomach acid, the betaine HCl with pepsin, digestive enzymes, activated charcoal, which I should have put in water, cloves, wormwood, cilantro, which I tried some of these in 2023 and as well. Actually, I tried a lot of these in 2023 as well, but I forgot some stuff, so I had to add it on the list. Cilantro, zeolite clay, diatomaceous earth, food grade. That it gave me an energy boost, but it didn't do anything else. Probably added bacterial overgrowth, to be honest. Bentonite clay, psyllium husk, the blueberry fast, which I couldn't do. I'm not sure if I got hypoglycemic or hyperglycemic, but something happened, and that went as bad as a carnivore that I tried for 3 days as well. Oxbile, I already said that. Vitamins, Saccharomyces boulardii, L-bifido, lacto, and bifidobacterium. Capsule, and kefir, I tried that as well. So I tried the regular capsule probiotics. I tried kefir a couple times, as I was told I should do, because quote unquote my issues were about diet when they really aren't. Kombucha, whatever it's called. Sauerkraut, low carb diet. I tried that. That didn't really make a difference, but I mean it does help with me not like having crazy spikes and crashes or just having those pass out things. But since I'm in a place that's really hot, now I just have those like pass out episodes in general just because it's too hot here. Proteolytic enzymes, I already put that. Butyrate, that did absolutely, I don't even know what butyrate was supposed to do. I forgot what I was even thinking and why I was trying that, but it was supposed to do something. I think like help with getting rid of SIBO. I don't even remember. Slippery elm bark, dandelion, 2025 plus, and even before. Chromium picolinate, 2024 I think this says, and NAC, which is N-acetylcysteine. It's supposed to help with detox and mucus clearing, which I recently tried that again, along with mastic gum and CoQ10 or coenzyme Q10, and I tried methylene blue. I was trying to remember what the word was called recently as well, and I'm forgetting something. Oh yeah, and D-limonene. Not all at the same time. I like was rotating, but I tried all of that the past 2 or 3 months. But I stopped I had been stopped the methylene blue because I didn't notice anything. It did make my eyes see worse though, but most things do that for whatever reason. Which is funny because apparently methylene blue is typically known to help with interstitial cystitis, but it made mine worse just like all supplements and stuff do. Where am I? So yeah, I tried some of that stuff again recently. Ivor, can't say that word without getting banned really. Mectin, the bots will probably still catch it. Horse paste. I tried that in, I know, 2024 and 2025, and people fearmonger and they say if you tried you're gonna die. nothing happened. I didn't even notice it helping at all. So there was that. Uver, Varsi leaf. I thought that would help with like any possible hidden like bacteria or just anything that could be like causing the IC that I don't know about, which that didn't do anything. Berberine, it did help with some stuff, especially when I was in NC, a more redline area, and the food was like worse and had more stuff in it. So like every time I would eat anything there, my blood sugar would spike to 250 and stuff. When I was in the storm shelter, also I think the dysautonomia and it being below freezing had something to do with it. But crap, it wasn't as cold as when I was in New York. But the food in both those places did that, and I don't really know what all I could say about that. But the berberine did help sometimes with preventing the spikes from like going too crazy. But generally, I can't really think of anything that the berberine really did to help. 2026 methylene blue, CoQ10, Tudka, which I actually tried Tudka before, like a couple months ago, but I didn't notice anything, and so I just was like mad and I just gave it away, because I thought that it was supposed to do the same thing as oxbile, because I ran out of oxbile HCLN enzymes because for when somebody or something stole my bag, which was very interesting. So caprylic acid 2025, I forgot all about that. I think I heard that could help with like fungal overgrowth, which I don't even know if I still have any of that from like when I was living indoors. But all buildings had mold, but it just affected me really bad near the end of my abuse situation before running away. But I even remember all the things that I mentioned before in other videos, with me and my stepmom getting sick when I was 7 due to living in mold, and that's when my lymph nodes officially got swollen. And I've even been going over medical records about like different full body fungal overgrowths that I would have. Like I even had this fungus growing out of my scalp once, which is funny because I don't remember going to the doctor for that, but I remember going for the supposed quote unquote eczema, which came from mold toxicity. But all that's noted. So apparently I used to get more sick from mold, or at least more visibly sick, because like it would just start coming out of me in different ways, in bad ways at that. And then beef pancreas, that didn't do Jake diddly. DAO, I think that stands for diamine oxidase, if I'm saying it right. That's supposed to help with breaking down histamine. It's the enzyme that's supposed to break down histamine, I think, which can also go into MCAS, but that didn't. It would often make things worse, but sometimes it did kind of help with the itching. But I remember Oxbal used to actually help with like me getting itchy at night, due to not being able to break down fat and stuff like that. But that doesn't even help anymore. D-limonene, NAC, which I already said that. Mastic gum, 2023 to 5, coconut oil, cilantro, which I already wrote cilantro. 23 to 24, blueberry fest, which I already said that. 2023 to 2024 castor oil packs, like tied to like the stomach or the back or whatever. And so that's a list of everything that I can remember that I've tried, except like things that I thought I did put that I guess maybe don't really count. But during the anticholinergic side effects at 12 to mid 12 to early 14, or really 13, honestly, really 13 to late 13, when I was being gaslit about why my intestines weren't working, I was just given like Urelax, milk of magnesia, which I have videos where I talk about this, some type of colon squeezing pill one time in this one cash for kids system placement that actually somewhat even acknowledged the quote unquote constipation. 30-day bowel clean out with with Gatorade. I know there was something called something citrus that's also laxative, and a whole bunch of other things that I can't remember. None of that stuff worked. I remember when I was told I just like would buy like Gas X myself, because that sometimes helped with like the anticholinergic side effects, making me not be able to use the bathroom, which gave me a bowel infection from top to bottom, where I couldn't eat anymore a lot of the time, and I would just throw up the food because it didn't have anywhere to go because my intestines were kind of full and they were backed up. on the left and the right. But then sometimes impactors would go to either the left or the right. And there'd be like a lot of gas buildup from the anticholinergic side effects. And so I would try to treat that myself, and the gas X worked every now and then, but generally nothing worked but getting off the drugs. But then once my digestion went downhill, really by 15, then that didn't matter anymore. But I wasn't really having constipation by the time. I mean, when I really got sick, I was just having diarrhea all the time. And so, I'm forgetting some stuff, but that's the main things, especially when it comes to trying to cure my issues. Which that's why I kept circling back to the whole thing of needing the endoscopy and colonoscopy and whatever else. Because generally, I do want to like jump into IVT, but I do know that still if I could get tested, it could help like me see things that I obviously can't see and can't figure out, to see why other things I've tried haven't worked.